When you decide to move with strategy instead of emotion, you are choosing power over impulse. Most people live at the mercy of their reactions, believing their feelings are facts and their urges are instructions. But emotions are signals, not commands. They are information moving through the nervous system, designed to alert you, not control you. The moment you understand this, you stop being dragged by every internal storm. You begin to notice that anger rises fast but fades quickly if not fed, that fear speaks loudly but rarely accurately, and that excitement often disguises risk. Strategic people do not deny emotions, they observe them. They pause long enough to ask what the emotion is trying to protect, what it is trying to avoid, and whether acting on it serves their long-term goals. This pause is where self-mastery begins. It is quiet, subtle, and invisible to others, but it changes everything. When you no longer react automatically, you gain the freedom to choose your response, and choice is the foundation of strategy. Emotional triggers are not random. They are predictable patterns formed by past experiences, unresolved wounds, and learned behaviors. When someone dismisses you, your body may react before your mind does. Your heart rate changes, your jaw tightens, your thoughts narrow. This is not weakness, it is biology. The brain's threat system is fast and efficient, designed for survival, not wisdom. It scans for danger and pushes you toward immediate action. The problem is that modern life rarely requires fight or flight, yet the system still activates as if it does. Strategic individuals train themselves to recognize this activation without obeying it. They learn the sensation of being triggered and treat it as a cue to slow down rather than speed up. Instead of asking, "How do I respond right now?" they ask, "What is the smartest outcome for me?" This shift turns emotional energy into strategic information. You stop being controlled by what happens to you and start controlling what you do next. Impulse feels urgent, but urgency is often an illusion. When emotions surge, the mind tells you that you must act immediately or lose something important: respect, control, safety, love. In reality, most situations improve when you delay your response. Time is a strategic tool. It allows emotions to settle and clarity to return. People who act impulsively reveal their hand too early. They say too much, explain themselves unnecessarily, or react in ways they later regret. Strategic calm, on the other hand, creates uncertainty in others and stability within you. When you do not rush to respond, you send a silent message that you are not easily shaken. You show that you are assessing, not reacting. This unsettles manipulative people and earns respect from emotionally intelligent ones. Patience is not passive, it is active restraint. It is the discipline of holding your position until you can see the full picture, rather than being pulled into a moment that benefits someone else more than you. Many people confuse emotional expression with authenticity, believing that saying exactly how they feel in the moment is a sign of honesty and strength. In reality, unfiltered expression often serves the ego, not the truth. Emotional honesty without regulation can damage relationships, undermine credibility, and weaken your position. Strategic individuals understand that authenticity does not mean immediacy. It means alignment between values, actions, and long-term intent. You can acknowledge an emotion internally without broadcasting it externally. You can feel anger without weaponizing it, disappointment without dramatizing it, and desire without chasing it. This restraint is not suppression. It is direction. You are choosing when, where, and how to express yourself for maximum impact and minimum regret. Over time, this creates an inner stability that others can feel. People trust those who are consistent and measured, not those who swing wildly with every emotional wave. Your environment constantly tests your emotional discipline. Provocation, comparison, criticism, and rejection are unavoidable. What separates strategic people from reactive ones is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of awareness. Awareness allows you to catch yourself mid-reaction and redirect. It allows you to notice when your ego wants validation, when your pride wants to win, and when your fear wants to hide. These internal pressures often push you toward choices that feel good in the moment but cost you later. Strategy requires you to zoom out. Instead of asking, "How do I feel right now?" you ask, What pattern am I reinforcing if I act this way? Every reaction trains your nervous system. If you repeatedly give in to impulse, you teach your brain that emotion equals action. If you pause, breathe, and choose deliberately, you teach your brain that emotion equals information. This retraining takes time, but it builds a level of control that cannot be shaken easily. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to stop taking emotional bait. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every challenge requires engagement. People often provoke to gain control, attention, or emotional leverage. When you react, you give them exactly what they want. Strategic restraint breaks this cycle. Silence, calm acknowledgement, or delayed response often communicate more authority than any argument. This does not mean tolerating disrespect. It means choosing the most effective response rather than the most emotionally satisfying one. Sometimes, the strongest move is to disengage and let behavior speak for itself. When you do respond, you do so from a grounded place with clear intention. This makes your words carry weight. People learn quickly that they cannot manipulate you through emotional pressure because you do not operate on their timeline or their emotional agenda. Emotional regulation is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about becoming centered. When you are centered, your decisions are guided by principles rather than moods. You begin to notice how quickly emotions can distort perception. A single negative interaction can color your entire day if you let it. Strategic individuals interrupt this distortion by returning to facts, context, and proportion. They remind themselves that one moment does not define the whole story. This mental discipline prevents emotional spirals that drain energy and focus. It also preserves your ability to think clearly under pressure. Calm is not the absence of feeling, it is the presence of perspective. When you cultivate this perspective, you become less reactive and more deliberate. You stop chasing emotional highs and avoiding emotional discomfort, and instead focus on steady progress toward your goals. Self-mastery begins with the ability to tolerate discomfort without immediately trying to escape it. Many impulsive reactions are attempts to relieve internal tension. Saying something sharp, sending a message too quickly, or making a sudden decision can provide temporary relief, but it often creates long-term consequences. Strategic people are willing to sit with discomfort. They allow the emotion to pass through without turning it into action. This builds emotional endurance. Over time, what once felt unbearable becomes manageable. You realize that you can survive the feeling without acting on it. This realization is deeply empowering. It shifts your identity from someone who reacts to someone who chooses. The more you practice this, the more confident you become in your ability to handle challenging situations without losing control. Confidence rooted in self-control is quiet and unshakable. Understanding your own emotional patterns is essential to moving strategically. Everyone has predictable triggers: feeling ignored, feeling challenged, feeling undervalued. When you know yours, you can prepare for them. Preparation turns emotional surprises into manageable events. Instead of being caught off guard, you recognize the familiar sensation and adjust accordingly. You slow your breathing, soften your posture, and remind yourself of your long-term priorities. This internal dialogue creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, strategy lives. You are no longer at the mercy of the moment. You are guiding it. This is not about perfection. You will still feel emotions deeply. The difference is that emotions no longer decide your behavior. You do. As you begin to separate feeling from action, you will notice a shift in how others respond to you. People sense when you are not easily provoked. They sense when your calm is intentional, not passive. This changes the dynamics of power and respect. You become harder to manipulate and easier to trust. Your presence becomes steadier, your words more measured, your decisions more deliberate. This is the foundation of strategic living. It starts internally with emotional awareness and restraint, and it expands outward into every area of your life. From here, the work deepens, moving from recognizing emotional impulses to actively cultivating patience, control, and psychological strength that allows you to operate with clarity even when others cannot. Patience is not something you are born with. It is something you build through repeated moments of restraint. Each time you choose not to react immediately, you strengthen a psychological muscle that most people never train. This muscle allows you to endure uncertainty without panic and delay gratification without resentment. In a world that rewards speed and noise, patience becomes a rare advantage. It allows you to see patterns others miss because they are too busy reacting. When you slow down internally, your perception sharpens. You notice tone shifts, inconsistencies, and motivations beneath the surface. Strategic calm creates mental bandwidth. Instead of being consumed by emotional turbulence, your mind stays open, curious, and observant. This is how control develops, not through force, but through awareness and timing. The ability to wait without anxiety signals to yourself and others that you are grounded, capable, and not desperate for immediate resolution. Psychological control begins with mastering your internal dialogue. Most impulsive behavior is fueled by unexamined thoughts that exaggerate threats and minimize options. The mind tells stories quickly when emotions rise, often framing situations in extremes. You are either respected or disrespected, winning or losing, accepted or rejected. Strategic thinkers interrupt this narrative. They question the story instead of obeying it. They ask what evidence supports their interpretation and what alternative explanations exist. This cognitive flexibility prevents emotional hijacking. When you learn to challenge your initial thoughts, emotions lose their grip. You realize that many reactions are based on assumptions, not facts. By slowing your thinking, you regain agency. You move from automatic response to intentional choice. This shift is subtle, but profound. It changes how you experience conflict, pressure, and uncertainty, transforming them from threats into information. Control also requires an understanding of timing. Acting at the right moment is often more important than acting forcefully. Many people rush to speak, defend, or decide because silence feels uncomfortable. Strategic individuals use silence as a tool. They understand that withholding response can create space for others to reveal more, reconsider their position, or de-escalate. Silence forces reflection, both internally and externally. It disrupts emotional momentum. When you do speak after a pause, your words carry more weight because they are not reactive. They are considered. Timing your response allows you to align emotion with intention. You are no longer trying to discharge feeling. You are delivering impact. This discipline separates those who are merely expressive from those who are effective. Emotional discipline does not mean suppressing vulnerability. It means choosing when vulnerability serves growth rather than harm. Strategic people know that sharing emotions impulsively can expose them to manipulation or misunderstanding. They are selective about what they reveal and to whom. This selectivity is not secrecy. It is self-respect. You are not obligated to explain your feelings to everyone who triggers them. By holding your emotional center steady, you protect your energy and clarity. This creates a sense of internal safety. When you feel safe within yourself, external chaos loses its power. You no longer need immediate validation or reassurance because your sense of worth is not tied to others' reactions. This internal security allows you to engage with the world from a place of strength rather than need. Patience also reshapes your relationship with outcomes. When you are emotionally driven, you fixate on immediate results. You want resolution now, clarity now, reassurance now. Strategy teaches you to value trajectory over instant gratification. You begin to ask where this choice leads over time, not just how it feels in the moment. This long-term orientation reduces emotional volatility. Setbacks become data instead of personal failures. Delays become opportunities to refine rather than reasons to panic. When you trust the process, you are less likely to sabotage it with impulsive decisions. You remain steady even when progress is slow because you understand that meaningful change rarely happens quickly. This steadiness becomes part of your identity, making you more resilient under pressure. Developing psychological control also involves managing physiological responses. Emotions live in the body before they reach the mind. Rapid breathing, muscle tension, and restlessness signal that your nervous system is activated. Strategic calm begins with regulating these responses. Slowing your breath, grounding your posture, and relaxing your jaw send signals of safety to your brain. This physiological shift creates mental clarity. You cannot think strategically when your body believes it is under threat. Learning to regulate your physical state is not a minor skill. It is foundational. When your body is calm, your mind can evaluate options instead of scanning for danger. This alignment between body and mind strengthens your capacity for deliberate action. Control is often misunderstood as rigidity, but true control is flexible. It allows you to adapt without losing direction. When emotions no longer dictate your behavior, you become more open to feedback and change. You are less defensive because your identity is not tied to being right in the moment. This openness enhances learning and growth. You can revise your approach without feeling diminished. Strategic individuals adjust course calmly when needed, rather than clinging to decisions made under emotional pressure. This adaptability increases effectiveness in complex situations where certainty is rare. You learn to move forward without needing complete clarity, trusting your ability to respond intelligently as new information emerges. Another aspect of psychological strength is the ability to tolerate ambiguity. Many impulsive actions are attempts to eliminate uncertainty. You send the message, confront the issue, or make the decision because not knowing feels uncomfortable. Strategic calm allows you to coexist with uncertainty without rushing to resolve it. You understand that clarity often emerges with time and observation. By resisting the urge to force resolution, you avoid premature conclusions that can limit options. This tolerance creates strategic depth. You gather information, watch behavior, and let situations unfold before committing to action. In doing so, you position yourself advantageously, responding from knowledge rather than assumption. As patience deepens, your sense of urgency diminishes. You no longer feel pressured to prove yourself or control others' perceptions. This lack of urgency is often mistaken for indifference, but it is actually confidence. When you are confident in your direction, you do not need constant confirmation. You can move quietly, adjusting as needed, without drawing unnecessary attention. This quiet confidence disarms competition and diffuses conflict. People sense when you are not competing emotionally. They sense when you are grounded in your own standards. This presence influences interactions subtly but powerfully, shifting dynamics without confrontation. Psychological control also involves knowing when to disengage. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every conversation deserves your energy. Strategic individuals assess cost versus benefit before engaging. They ask whether involvement advances their goals or drains their resources. Disengagement is not avoidance. It is prioritization. By conserving energy, you ensure that when you do act, you do so with full presence and intention. This selective engagement enhances effectiveness and preserves emotional health. Over time, you develop a reputation for being composed and discerning, which further reduces unnecessary challenges and provocation. As you strengthen patience and control, you begin to experience a deeper sense of autonomy. Your mood becomes less dependent on external events. Praise does not inflate you, and criticism does not destabilize you. This emotional independence is a hallmark of self-mastery. It allows you to operate consistently, regardless of circumstances. When others are reactive, you remain steady. When others rush, you wait. When others escalate, you de-escalate. This contrast becomes your advantage. It positions you as a stabilizing force, someone others look to in moments of uncertainty. The discipline you build internally eventually extends outward into your decisions. You stop making choices to soothe emotions and start making choices to serve your future. This shift changes how you approach relationships, communication, and life planning. You become more intentional, less reactive, and more strategic in where you invest your time and energy. Emotional discipline creates clarity, and clarity creates direction. With this foundation, you are prepared to apply strategic calm in the real world, navigating interactions and decisions with precision, composure, and quiet authority that speaks louder than any emotional reaction ever could. When you begin applying strategic calm to relationships, the first change you notice is how differently you listen. Instead of listening to respond, defend, or impress, you listen to understand patterns. You notice what people emphasize, what they avoid, and how their words align with their actions. Emotional reactivity narrows attention, but strategic composure widens it. This wider awareness allows you to respond in ways that are measured rather than impulsive. You stop personalizing every behavior and start interpreting it within context. This shift reduces unnecessary conflict and increases influence. When people feel understood rather than challenged, defensiveness drops. Strategic calm turns conversations into opportunities for clarity rather than emotional battlegrounds. Communication rooted in self-mastery is deliberate. You choose words that reflect intention, not irritation. Tone becomes a tool rather than a giveaway. When emotions run high around you, your steadiness becomes noticeable. You are not rushed into explanations, nor are you pulled into emotional spirals. Strategic communicators understand that saying less, with precision, often carries more weight than over-explaining. They allow pauses to do the work that words cannot. Silence, when used intentionally, invites others to reveal more and reconsider their stance. This is not manipulation, it is presence. Your calm creates space for honesty, accountability, and resolution without force. In close relationships, strategic calm prevents cycles of reaction that erode trust. Many conflicts escalate not because of the issue itself, but because of how it is handled emotionally. Reactivity breeds defensiveness, which breeds withdrawal or aggression. When you regulate your responses, you interrupt this cycle. You address concerns without accusation and express boundaries without hostility. This clarity fosters respect. People learn what to expect from you because your behavior is consistent. Even when emotions are strong, your approach remains grounded. This consistency builds safety, and safety deepens connection. Strategic calm does not distance you from others. It allows intimacy without chaos. Boundaries become clearer when emotion is not driving your decisions. Instead of setting limits in moments of frustration, you establish them thoughtfully, with calm resolve. Strategic boundaries are not reactive walls. They are intentional structures. You communicate them without apology and enforce them without drama. This steadiness discourages repeated violations because it removes emotional reward. When people realize they cannot provoke or pressure you into changing your stance, behavior adjusts. Boundaries rooted in self-mastery protect your energy while maintaining dignity on both sides. They signal self-respect, which naturally invites respect from others. Decision-making also transforms when guided by strategy rather than emotion. You stop making life choices to escape discomfort or chase temporary relief. Instead, you evaluate options through the lens of long-term alignment. You ask whether a decision supports your values, growth, and stability. Emotional urges often push toward extremes, but strategic calm favors balance. This balance reduces regret. Even when outcomes are uncertain, you trust your process because it is grounded in clarity rather than impulse. Over time, this trust strengthens your confidence. You no longer second-guess yourself as frequently because your choices are deliberate and informed. Strategic calm in professional and personal settings enhances credibility. People associate composure with competence. When you remain steady under pressure, others assume you are capable of handling complexity. This perception opens doors and creates opportunities. You become someone others rely on during uncertainty. Your ability to think clearly while others react emotionally sets you apart. This is not about dominance or control over others. It is about control over yourself. That control becomes visible through your actions, decisions, and presence. Life inevitably presents moments of loss, disappointment, and challenge. Strategic calm does not eliminate pain, but it prevents pain from dictating your future. You allow yourself to feel without allowing feelings to dismantle your direction. This resilience is built through repeated practice of restraint, reflection, and intentional action. Each time you choose strategy over emotion, you reinforce a mindset that prioritizes growth over reaction. This mindset becomes a compass, guiding you through uncertainty with steadiness and purpose. As self-mastery deepens, you begin to move through life with quiet confidence. You are no longer easily swayed by external noise or internal turbulence. Your decisions reflect clarity, your communication reflects intention, and your relationships reflect balance. This does not make life effortless, but it makes it navigable. You trust yourself to respond wisely, even when emotions run high. That trust is powerful. It frees you from the constant need to control outcomes or prove worth. Moving with strategy rather than emotion is not a single choice. It is a daily discipline. It is practiced in small moments of pause, in measured responses, and in deliberate decisions. Over time, these moments accumulate into a way of being. You become someone who observes before acting, who chooses before reacting, and who remains grounded regardless of circumstances. This is true strength. It is calm under pressure, clarity amid noise, and direction rooted in self-mastery. When you move this way, you do not just react to life. You shape it with intention, precision, and enduring control.